So if you want to create a new folder, then what you need to do is you can see the button new drop down menu with the name new. And if you go here, you can just select folder, and now it will give you a new folder. It will create a new folder. And now if you want to rename it, just click on this, just select this one and rename. And I'm going to save all my workshop materials here. So I'm going to call it as workshop. Okay, now this is where I'm going to save all my work. So once you create a folder to save all your work, then you can start your first notebook. So, okay, so now once I have created a folder to save my notebook, first notebook. Now, in order to get a notebook, what you can do is first browse the folder in which you would like to create your first notebook. And then again, go to this new and previously we selected folder. Now I'm going to create a notebook. So you can select from this menu, you can select Python 3. So now you will get this type. It will bring you to this type of a window. So here what you can see is your first Jupyter Notebook. So once you select that option, it will open in a new tab. A Jupyter Notebook will be open in a new tab like this. Now, you can also create multiple notebooks. Now here, if you want to rename that one, you can just if you want, you can here. Now, at the moment, it says untitled. So let's say your tut 1, sorry, lab session 1. So this is, I'm going to save it as lab session 1. Now, if you go to this dashboard here, you can see your first notebook. And let's say you want to insert another notebook, then you just need to create, just select another notebook, and let me call it as lab session 2. Now, then I rename it. Now, if you go to the dashboard, you can see the two notebooks. And here you can, each notebook uses its own tab. So when you click on this one, now here you can see this is the first notebook, this is the second notebook, and each notebook uses its own tab because you can open multiple notebooks simultaneously and you can run multiple notebooks simultaneously. Okay, so now let's see how we can work with the Jupyter Notebook. This is very similar to most of the syntax that we are using here, very similar to our Markdown syntax. So basically, this Jupyter Notebook is just you can think this Jupyter Notebook as an advanced word processor. Okay, let's get familiar with the anatomy of this Jupyter Notebook. So here, this allows you to give a proper name for this is basically once you change this one, it is actually the name of the file. So this is my first Jupyter Notebook. And here you have file. And here you have edit button, here you have view, and here you have insert. Now, if you want to add in a cell, we'll come to this cell. Then here you have the insert option. And here, let me start with this kernel. So basically, kernel is a computation. You can think it as a computational engine. And this is where you execute the code contained in the notebook document. Kernel allows you to execute the codes contained in the notebook. Then let's come to cell. This is where the magic happens. Now, basically, when it comes to cells, there are two main types of cells that you will be able to identify when you are working with Jupyter Notebook. Now, here, when it comes to these cells, so this is what you call a cell. And you can change the type of this cell. There are two main types of cells. One is called the code cell. At the moment, what you can see is a code cell. So code cells contains codes to be executed in the kernel. Now, this is very similar to an R chunk that you saw in our Markdown document. So this is where you can write the code and you can execute it and you can see the results. So, and once, for example, now you can just think it as a calculator, 1 + 2. If you want to run this code, now I expect if it works properly, I expect to see the output as 3. So here, this is at the moment, the type of this cell is code. And when you pass this type of code, and if you click on run, here you can see the output. So, and now this is, and if you want, just like in our markdown, here's summation. Sum of X and Y. So you can also put a comment to these codes, just like in our markdown. And here now, when you put a hashtag in front of a statement, it will become a comment. And this Python will ignore that comment, and it will only execute the Python code. And another thing that I want you to notice is, let me just remove this one. If you want to remove a cell, here just set your cursor to the cell that you want to delete, and here you have the scissor, just remove that one. And here, now let me show you another thing. I want you to notice few things here. So when you run a cell, here you can see, here when you get a command, when you get a code cell, if I just type 1 + 3, here, now if you execute this one, the output is displayed below this label. And once you run this one, I want you to observe the change happen on this part. Now here at the moment it says you have the empty square brackets. Now if you run that one, here you can see now, actually, for example, previously I did an execution. So let me just run this one. Then you can see here, this is your third one, this is your fourth one. So basically this line, the output, this line, whenever you run that one, you will get this type of you will observe this type of a change. Now, if you run it again, here you can see, if you run it again, this label will change to 5. So likewise, if you keep on running that one, it will change the next number. So because now this cell was the 6th to be run on the kernel. I told you kernel is the place where you execute all the or the Python commands. And here when you run that one, now this is the 6th command to be run on this kernel. And that's what you get from here. Okay, so now let's see a few other things. Now here I just mentioned that when it comes to a cell, you have two types of cell. One is a code cell. The other one, we call it as a markdown cell. If you go to this one here, you have the markdown cell. Now, if you want to insert a heading to this document, now what you can do is you need to insert a cell above this. So what you can easily do that, go to insert and you can say insert cell above. Now, when you insert a cell, the default setting is a code cell. But you can easily change this to an R markdown cell. Just set your cursor here and select R markdown. Now it will turn into an R markdown cell. And now since it's an R markdown cell, you don't have this type of a part because now it is an R markdown cell and you don't have to run that. Okay, now let's see how to add a heading. So this is my heading. So let's say title 1. And if you want to run, so just run this one and here you can see the output. And just like in our markdown, these number of hashtags will control the level of the heading title 2. And let me go, sorry, title 3. Now, if you just run these things, you can see how these hashtags can change the level of the heading as well. Okay, so those are the basic things that we are going to learn. So, and all the things that, most of the things that you learn during the R markdown session applies to this one. Now, for example, another thing, let me quickly give you some, let me quickly cover some basics. Now here, now you saw how to insert a heading. If you want, you can also add a paragraph. This is my first, now, in order to write the descriptions and the titles, you need to have a markdown. You need to have a markdown cell. In order to execute the Python commands, you need to have a code cell. So this is my first paragraph. Now, paragraph, you can just, this is my first paragraph. And here, this is my second paragraph. So if you run this one, here you can see how you get the paragraph. And sometimes you want to include a list. You can easily include a list, just like in our Markdown, you can use the bullet, these asterisks. So list, this is my list, maybe this is my list. So I have item 1, very easy. Here you have item 2. You have to, the spacing is very important. And here you can see you get all the items, you can get this type of a list of items. If you want to get an ordered list instead of this, if you want to get an ordered list, very easy, just type it as 1, item 1. Then you have 2, item 2. And if you run that one, here you can get it as an ordered list. And you can also put some hyperlinks, very easy. If you want to put a link, insert a hyperlink link. You have to give the description that you want to give for that particular hyperlink within a square bracket. And let's say I want to link this workshop website to this material, to this document. Then within normal brackets, you pass the link. And let's see what you can see after you run this code. Here now you can see insert a hyperlink, it will bring you to this. So you can easily insert a hyperlink. And another thing is you can also add many other, you can also add this type of another R Markdown chunk and work. And let's say now this is again an R Markdown. Let's say you want to insert a figure. You can easily do that one using this. Now you have insert figure. Now let's say here I have saved the figure that I want to insert on my D drive. Let me go to this, and here I want to insert this image. Set your cursor to the place where you want to insert and just drag and drop it. If you want, you can even type it, but very easy. You just drag and drop it, then it will give you the corresponding code. So exclamation mark, within brackets, within square brackets, you have the detailed description that you want to give for this particular figure, and here you have the attachment. And if you execute this one, here you get the image. And there are ways to control the size of this image. We will discuss that one during our next lesson. Okay, so these are some of the basics. So I think now most of these things that you learn during this R Markdown session, you can use the same syntax to work with Python, this Jupyter Notebook. And the last thing is now here, this is what you call the Python notebook. If you want to save the final output as an HTML document, you can easily do that. If you go to this file, now you can download it in different formats. For example, here are some of the things that I have. For example, if you come to this one, here I have written this page using Jupyter, not this one. If you come to this link, I have written this page using Jupyter Notebook, just like this. And then what I have done is I have downloaded this HTML file and I have linked that to the website. So if you want to link your work to a website, if you want to have it in HTML format, what you can do is just go to File, Download, and here, if you click on this one, you can save the notebook, Jupyter Notebook. If you want, for example, if I just click on this one, now it will download, it allows me to download the original Jupyter Notebook, the code. But if you want to save it as an HTML document, here you can save it as an HTML document. And if you click on this one here, you can see the final output. So likewise, you can easily work with Jupyter Notebook. And the syntax are very similar to R Markdown. Okay, I think our time is up. So basically during this last part of this session, I introduce you to Python, and I introduce you to a new platform called Jupyter Notebook that allows you to produce reproducible reports very easily using, and it allows you to produce reproducible report with Python. Okay, so any questions?
I think Chatura, he asked, Jupyter Notebook is not working. Maybe he can share the screen and clarify his problem, because
Yes,
otherwise.
if it is not working, maybe you can send us an email with a screenshot. Maybe you haven't. If you get an error message saying that you haven't installed Jupyter Notebook, please go through this second guideline document. Once you come to this reproducible report research with Jupyter Notebook, come to this how to install Jupyter environment. Just click on that one. It will bring you to this page. Now here, if you have already installed Jupyter Notebook, once you type Jupyter Notebook, it will open the Notebook dashboard. But if you get an error message saying that you haven't installed Jupyter Notebook, now you have to install Jupyter Notebook as well. Now there are two ways of installing a Jupyter Notebook. Please follow one of these guidelines. I recommend you to use, since here our focus is on data visualization, and we are going to use both R and Python as some tools that allows us to do good visualization, data visualization. So I'm not going to focus on Anaconda environment. So what you can do is, using method 1, you can easily install Jupyter Notebook. And once you follow these steps, it will allow you to work with Jupyter Notebooks, just like I did during this session. So please follow this one. And here, and another thing is, here I have I have given you some additional resources. If you go to this link, it will bring you to our one of our YouTube channel. And there you will be able, there I have given a demo how to work with Jupyter Notebook.